thought of triathlon. Now, for about 2 years, I would go online and look to see what races were out there. Not that I would do it, but here's the funny thing. I would look and say to myself, oh, that would be cool. It's an hour away. I can't do it. I'm not going to get up 4 a.m. I look at another race. Oh, that's 2 hours away. Mind you, I didn't know how to swim. I didn't own a bike. So this was just like this fluffy, I'm using distance as an excuse as if I was going to do it or could do it. But that year, I go online and I see triathlon on Long Beach Island. And I thought, are you kidding me? I look up and I go, well, I can't use distance as an excuse anymore. It's right in my backyard. So I said, okay, all right, I'll register. So I registered in December, but I said nothing to no one. I put it in my calendar for March, start training. March rolls around. I'm like, all right, Ivy, you're going to do this? Let's do it. Again, didn't know how to swim, didn't own a bike. I hadn't been on a bike since I was a kid, so there's lots to learn there. But I started the process. And they say success favors the bold, success favors action. And so I just started the process. What can I do with what I had where I was? I could go out and I could run. That's one leg of the triathlon. Then it was like, okay, let's get a membership at the pool. Oh my God. The whole experience about swimming, even one of the lifeguards, he was an older gentleman, he goes, that looked painful. I'm like, I'm just learning how to swim.
Did you have to swim in the ocean for the triathlon in the bay?
And I'm doing it again this year. I still don't like it. Don't like it.
You're doing it again. So how many
this will be number 4.
Number 4?
Yeah.
At 55.
Great title for a podcast, Blessings.
Thank you. Yes, I love it.
What a great meditation.
We are here to learn in the spirit of life.
I'm all about believe. You're about spreading blessings. It's great.
What about your blessings? What's the biggest blessing of life?
What a great question.
Because it's the Blessings podcast, I have to ask you, what is your biggest lesson in life?
My biggest lesson in life.
A whole lot of conversations with people about life and how those things manifest as blessings and lessons, and sometimes both.
It's my connection.
You're going to get schooled.
The journey is the journey.
What you and me are searching for are the blessings in this life.
Remember the reality of how sweet people are.
Spread blessings around the world.
You are the most remarkable energy. You make me pause, make me excited, make me think, and make me spontaneously come up with an answer. This is another one of those great moments in time in my life. Thank you for reaching out to ask if I would do the show.
Welcome back to Blessings, friends. I was blown away when I first heard today's guest's story. She's known for her uplifting Cawfee Tawk Time Lives. And her mission is to help others believe that they can create rich and fulfilling lives, no matter what their circumstances, and to touch everyone in her orbit with the tools that she uses in her own life, incorporating mindset, movement, and success habits. A transformative experience led her to put an end to a 3-decade-long struggle with alcohol and face the truth about what she was truly capable of. Something I can relate to. She completed her first triathlon at 52 years young, which I love. She's also a breast cancer survivor. She knows what it's like to feel powerless against something and want to change, but not to know how. And I think that's something we have all faced in our lives, whether big or small. So she's a force, and I can't wait for us to all get to know her here today. Welcome the indomitable Ivy Perez to the show.
Oh, thank you, Mitzi, so much. Thank you. You know, when people read your bio, you're like, wow.
You're like,
that's me. We just go. We're just doing and learning, and we're being challenged and just sharing and loving. And sometimes we forget all the things that we've gone through and all the things that we are doing. In my coffee talk this morning, it was one of those things where I said, do you celebrate you? Because I'm guilty of this, celebrating the small wins, just really stopping to recognize what you do, how you do it, your journey. It's not about, 50 years old and this is where I am and I should be here and I should be there. It's like, stop shitting on yourself.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We are our own worst critics. And I'm the first one at the end of the day to be reluctant to stop working and to beat myself up. Did I get enough done today? Did I accomplish enough? Am I worthy of putting this down now and just relaxing for a few hours? It's something I think we can get caught up in pretty easily.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Especially when I think that's a part of us where we know most of it is for us, is we're growing, we're challenging ourselves because we want to be the best versions of ourselves. So we keep on challenging ourselves and doing things and growing. But then we get to a point where it's not about us per se. Now we get to a point, it's okay, you've grown a lot. You've been challenged. You triumphed. Now it's for you to share what you've gone through because there's someone out there, especially in this social media, this space, that we can help someone. And we won't even know a lot of times that people they're watching, they're listening and being affected. Every once in a while, I'll get a voice message that someone will say, I just want you to know that. And I'm like, thank you. And I always say thank you for that because sometimes we're just speaking to the ether,
Yep.
the void.
Yeah.
We just
But there are those of us who are meant to, I always believe if you have a message on your heart and you feel compelled to share it, it is because there is someone out there who needs to hear it. And for some of us, that might only be one person who needs to hear it. It doesn't have to be the masses or 1,000 people that need to hear that message. Even though those people are out there, they're going to connect and you're going to connect to the people that you need to connect to. And it is really interesting when you get to the point in your life where personal development takes front and center. It's like where we, at some point in our lives, earlier, later, in the middle, at different points, and then bouncing back and forth, but we, at different points in our lives, realize the importance of personal growth and development. So, do you remember the first time you encountered a book or a mentor or a person online who got you hooked on personal development?
Yes. And it wasn't actually online at the time. And this is touching on my story a little bit. So I was in my late 30s. And it was during a time when, as you mentioned in the bio, about alcohol being one of those things in my journey.
Yeah.
And I had gotten into a fender bender. And it was one of those things like I went to Catholic school from kindergarten until I graduated high school. So I was the good girl, never got in trouble, respected the elders. Like I was a good kid. And here it is, this fender bender happened. It wasn't so much a fender bender. It was that the police showed up. And then I'm just, okay, police are here, do the report. But then I had to do a field sobriety test. And I was like, that's when it hit me. Oh, this is something big. I was arrested for the first time in my life. Like I did something that there was like a huge like ramification because of that consequence. And it was a quick thing as far as like not so much overnight, but I remember the next day just looking up and going, okay, God, what is going on? I can't continue doing this. Why am I even here? Like, why am I on this earth? What is my purpose? I remember saying that out loud. Of course, I didn't get the answer. It's not like you hear IV, the reason, but that was the starting point where I wanted to really find out and learn, who am I? Like, really, who am I? And I feel, and I say this, is at that point, it's almost when you are broken, you feel so broken, you're so open to receiving. And that's when people, situations, circumstances cross your path that are for you and you're ready. And so there was a gentleman And I don't know if I saw a flyer or something, and I went to see him. Now I know that we have these workshops that leads to coaching now, but then I remember him just talking about quantum physics
Mm.
and waves and particles and all the things. And I'm like, like, I was like, yes. Like, for some reason, I felt so pulled to this information because I felt a sense of, I'm going to learn who I am. And over time, and I did follow him and I went to quite a few of his seminars and stuff. And it was just really coming down to the basics. We are spiritual beings. That's it. We're
Yeah.
spiritual beings and having a human experience, and we're here for a short time. And it's about what we go through, our awareness, how we see things, which is interesting. And, but it's a lot of what I already knew. It was just said in a way that was like, and
Yeah.
that started my personal growth.
Yeah. What a great story. Were you raised as a spiritual person when you were from a little girl?
Not at all. It was one of those things. I think going to private school was just for the education.
Okay.
You get a good education kind of thing, but home life was totally different. I was confused my whole childhood. It's like I'm learning one thing, right from wrong and all the things, but then I'm witnessing quite the opposite, hearing judgment about people, and I just didn't get it. And it was just family members like, okay, so you're not perfect. No one's perfect. Why would you judge anyone? You have no idea what they're going through. You have no idea. Mind you, I was probably like, I don't know, 6, 8, and I just knew this. So I knew even from a young age that there was something more for me, not knowing, of course, not knowing exactly what that is. I'm still on my journey.
Oh, of course. It takes a lifetime and beyond, many lifetimes.
Yes.
But it's interesting that even as a child, first of all, you were very fortunate to have been placed in a situation where you could see there was a different way, a different kind of life than what you were experiencing at home. That's a blessing. But it must have been very confusing to be able to see. And I think the thing that strikes me about childhood is that children are definitely trapped. Children cannot leave their environments very easily unless, God forbid, something really horrible happens that they're extricated from
Yeah.
certain environments, but they're trapped. And even up until you get into your teens, you're very much stuck in your environment. And so how did you deal with that as a child? Do you remember? Did you have any coping mechanisms?
I was very quiet. I internalized a lot. I observed a lot. There's the thing I say, we've all heard the saying, when you point a finger at someone, there's 3 pointing back at you. So even with my childhood and all that I experienced and witnessed and saw and heard and all the things, I could have gone one or two ways. I could have been the person that would judge people without knowing, or the other way, which is me. And I turned that in on myself. And I'm always like, okay, can I do better? All the things, just judging myself. That wasn't good. And I could have done better and all the things. So it, I want to say it didn't help, but it does help because that's just part of my journey. But coping mechanisms, as I think about it, do you remember Jane Fonda?
Yes.
Had her tapes and I pop in her tape all the time. So I wonder if that might have been one of the coping mechanisms to just work out. It made me feel good. It took me away. I will say probably it really started right around 6th grade, but the alcohol came into play too. And it wasn't a conscious thing. I think I was about, I want to say 10 years old when there was a New Year's Eve party that my mom went to a neighbor's house and we were all there. And she was like, go upstairs. There's kids upstairs kind of thing. And there were older girls there. And I think they were in high school. So I was younger. So I sat there and I was quiet and I'm just like watching them. And they're talking among themselves, and they had this big thing. Do you remember Calvin coolers? I am totally aging myself.
Sure. Yes, of course. I do remember those.
So I remember they had 2-liter, and I thought it was like fruit punch or something. I didn't know. So they were like, "Do you want some?" I'm like, "Okay." So I had 3 large Solicas. I tasted. I'm like, "Oh, this is good." I didn't know. I was so sick. Got so sick. But I remember thinking the next day, and I was like really sick. I didn't get in trouble. There was no, I don't know, scolding me, which is in a one way good because I didn't know, or any conversation around that, nothing. And I found that interesting.
Did your parents realize that you had alcohol?
Oh, yeah. And I think at the time that was funny because it was New Year's Eve and they made fun of it,
Yeah.
not in a bad way. It was just like, "Oh, no. And how does your head feel?" And kind of thing. And I'm like, as a child, I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting coming from an adult. So the next time alcohol crossed my path was, I think, around 6th grade. Now I knew a little, but I indulged. Now this time I'm like, I feel so good because there was like a lot of stuff in the home environment. So with this, and I hear this all the time with people and alcohol or any substance, it's like you feel like you can let go and be yourself. You have to worry or think. And there's this lightness. There's this, oh my God, I could be me.
Yeah.
And it started there. That was 6th, 7th grade. And then not until college. And then college, it was like, whatever.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I can relate to that story so strongly. I think I remember my first alcohol. I was in 7th grade. So I would have been roughly 12, 11 or 12.
When we
And
think
there
of
was a party at a friend's house someone who still friends with. It was the first party I went to with boys. And I remember there was a game of spin the bottle.
Mhm.
Fairly innocent, but there was alcohol. It was downstairs in this family's family room in the 70s, what the family room looked like. It had the shag carpet and there was a bar. And so we got into the alcohol. And that was the first time I ever had a drink. And I remember thinking how much fun it was and how amazing and how much, like how great I felt and how amazing it was. I didn't get sick. I don't think I drank that much, probably just a small amount, but it felt exciting. And it felt like this adult world that I got to be a part of.
And you were having fun. And you were having fun and
Having fun.
laughing. And you were with your friends. And
Yep.
wow, this is fun.
It is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I know. So you went off to college. What did you study in school?
Interesting. When I went to college, I had no support or mentorship. I had no idea what I was doing. None. I didn't know anything about college really, other than it was 4-year degree, you study something, and that's it. It was you need to go to college. And it was like you need to go to college and get a degree and blah, 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 and get a good job, that kind of thing. I'm like, okay. So I remember going to, and it was actually Wagner College on Staten Island.
Okay.
And I remember the counselor or whoever the individual was asked me, "What's your major?" And I'm like, "Oh, business." Okay. So I got macroeconomics, accounting, business law, like all this stuff. It was so over my head, like so over my head. So I think I started with that major for about a year and I'm like, I was lost. I was lost. And after 2 years, I took time off trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I really enjoyed the sciences. So then I went back to school and I did more of an ad hoc and I did a environmental science biology degree and I enjoyed it, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So then I just took time off and then I went back to school because then it was about, I want to say late 80s, maybe. when it was like computers, and I'm like, oh, I need to know computers because that's the way of the world. And so I went back to school and I got a degree in information technology. And then I realized after the degree, and it was a 1 year accelerated program, so it was intense. And but then I realized it's not what I want to do. I don't want to sit behind a computer all day long. And so I took more time off. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
Wow. And along the way, what other kinds of things were happening in your life? So tell us a little bit about, because I know that you're very into fitness. You started to talk about how you started your fitness journey as a child, and it maybe you're realizing it could have been a coping mechanism, which I think is very common.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing to think about. You'll have to
Mhm.
see if maybe journal on that a little bit later and see how that feels. But as you're going through this time, were there any significant people in your life, any significant stories that you can share that might have shaped the person that you are today?
Okay, I'm going to say as a child. So again, hearing a lot of the talking about other people and all the things, and me just observing. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're overweight or you've let yourself go, which happens so much. Happens so much. Like someone in their youth could be, I'm a child, so they could be maybe late 20s, early 30s, and they let themselves go. So I think that was one reason I never want that to happen to me. I
So
always
these were
wanted,
things you were hearing your family say about other people, and that
yeah.
kind of made you feel like, oh, these are the things I need to avoid when I grow up.
So make sure I take care of myself, make sure I eat healthy, and just work on me. But after like moving away from the family and doing my own thing, I think for a long time, probably a good 20 years, because I can't say I left home. I actually left home when I was 30. Because
Wow.
when I think I started working when I was like 16, 17, I was making decent money for 16, 17-year-olds. I am the oldest. I have two younger siblings. And so my thought was, and my parents had separated when I was about 6, 8 years old, that it's my duty, so to speak, to just give her half of
Mm.
everything to help her.
Wow.
So that's what I did. And so she never bothered me. My mom never bothered me. And I always tried different things. During high school, I did the Navy Sea Cadets. So that was like a junior ROTC program. And again, I just did things like, oh, that sounds cool. I don't know what that is, but I'll do it. And then I like it. I'm like, I stood there 4 years, thought I was going to go in the military, really wanted to. But then when it was after I graduated high school, I thought, let me go to college first. Let me get a degree and then see. But then I totally forgot about it. The drinking stemmed from a lot of that, but it also stemmed from some trauma with a family member. We can only imagine that here it is, you have male figures in your life that are supposed to protect you and
Yeah.
love you, and they take advantage of you. I'll say that. And
Okay.
so that happened for a handful of years. So there was anger. I didn't realize there was anger. So and I think I know that I used it. I used alcohol
Mm.
to get my way, get through situations. I don't know. But I look back at everything and I've done my forgiveness of people. And I tout that very much. It's so important. And it's not for them. And I think we're in the same camp. It's for us. It's to let go of that. Done a lot of that on my own, not seeking any help, like just on my own. And even family members or relationships and things like that. I remember a friend of mine, I would think that he's still doing the same line of work. He's a psychologist. And he said to me, because one day I told him that I woke up out of a dead sleep and I went, because someone had asked me, what are you running away from? Because I move like every 2 to 3 years at the time. So what are you running away from? And I was like, I'm not running away from anything. I just feel like moving. I feel like going. I feel like doing this and doing that. So I was always like all over the place.
Mm.
And then one day out of a dead sleep, I went, I'm running away from me.
Mm.
I'm running away from me. I'm like, wow. So and then my friend said to me, do you realize that people pay thousands of dollars to get that?
Wow.
Yeah, I
And how
guess.
old were you when you had that realization?
I was in my 30s. I'm going to say early 30s, maybe about 32, 33.
So you were living at home until you were roughly 30, giving your
Yeah.
mom half of your income all that
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And then
I
finally
decided,
went out on your own, but
Mhm.
continued to move then and not be settled in one thing. And then had this realization that you were actually running away from
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. Now, had I had the wherewithal to seek professional help in some form or fashion, it may not have taken 20 years. That time could have collapsed, but I didn't think to seek help. I didn't know you could seek help. Maybe there was a part of me that thought, and I think a lot of people feel this way, is that seeking help is saying that you're weak. And even to this day, and I'm learning, like I'm at my green growing edge right now. And I'm like, now, 55, now I'm like more open to reaching out and asking for help, and not in a way that like, I don't know what I'm doing, just looking at it in a way of, you have more expertise than I do. Let's have a conversation and see how you can help me and I can help you thing. It's just different. It's just part of growth, the whole personal growth thing.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, personal growth is not you take a course and take a program and that's just level one.
Yeah.
That's just the awareness. That's the seed. Now it's the
Yeah.
work, and there's levels to personal growth.
How would you like to get the best text of your life? This is your sign that it's time to add something powerful to your morning routine that sets you up for success and reminds you that you are worthy and makes you unstoppable. It's a motivational text message from me, a real human. I am Mitzi Campbell, a mindset specialist, and I know that it is possible for you to live the life of your dreams. My morning motivational text messages help you up-level your mindset, your happiness, and your success. Sign up for a 2-week free trial at yourpositivemoment.com and change your life today. Join the movement so we can all thrive together. yourpositivemoment.com. I think what's interesting about your story is that it illustrates that this is not a quick process. It's a long process. So you realized in your early 30s that you were in essence trying to run away from yourself. And it was around that time also that you had this transformative car accident situation where you ended up being arrested for drinking and driving. And look, I've gotten in the car when I shouldn't have many times. And it's just a matter of luck. It didn't happen to me. It could happen to anyone. But at that time, so you were probably, what were you, in your mid 30s when that happened, the car accident?
When that happened, I was probably I'd say about 36, 37.
But you didn't stop drinking right away.
After that particular incident, I did for 11 months.
Okay.
And then and then I think afterwards it was more like, oh, I can control it. It's been 11 months. I can do it. And then one led to two, and then you go back to doing the same thing. And I want to say, I would have to really think about this. I want to say after that, there was another accident. And this one was more like just myself. And I swear there was an angel. I don't know. But it was one of those things. It was in the middle of the afternoon. I'm driving down a road that typically is very busy. And I must have dozed off a little bit and I swerved, or at least just moved across 3 lanes. And I hit something, and it was more of that bouncing, spinning, jumping onto a curb, onto the other side of oncoming traffic, on the sidewalk, almost hit a wall. And I remember waking up. I just woke up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I had a dinner party to go to. I went to the dinner party. I don't know if they saw that I was like white as a ghost. I didn't want to say anything. I just went and they were like, hey, would you like a drink? And I was like, oh God. And I said yes, but I was like, didn't even want to touch it. But I remember that evening saying to my girlfriend, I go, I don't know. I don't know why I do what I do. I really don't know why I drink the way I drink. Mind you, I didn't say anything. And when I saw my car, because I just parked and went inside, it was a wreck.
Wow.
It was,
Wow.
I was able to drive it, but it was a wreck. And by the grace of God, and that was like, okay, but it still took 10 years.
Yeah.
It still took 10 years. And that was at the time I was living in Arizona. A few years later, now I'm back east. I move in with my mom just to figure things out. Right before moving from Arizona to New York, that was the time when I was doing a lot of soul searching. A lot of soul searching. I'm like, okay. And I did some reflection. I was journaling. I was praying. I was asking. And then one day, driving in the car, I felt the tap. And I felt it. And I heard law enforcement. I'm like, really? And I'm driving going, okay. So I started looking into it. I didn't want to be a police officer or anything in law enforcement, but it led me to the military. Now, at this time, I think I'm like 38, 39, something like that. And there were only two branches at my age that would accept me. That was the Navy and the Army. I was partial to the Navy because I did Naval Sea Cadets when I was in high school. So I thought, oh, this is a sign. So I went and I go into, it's called MEPS, the Military Entrance Processing Station. I walked right into the Navy office and I said, I want to sign up. The guy, we chatted for about 5 minutes and all he focused on was my age. He's like, because of your age, because of your age. And then after a while, I said, you know what, sir, thank you for your time. I got up, I walked across the hall to the Army and I said, hi, I want to join. And they're like, okay. So I went through the process.
Wow.
I went through the process at the time. So mind you, this is Arizona. Now I was a realtor at the time, and then I stopped doing that. And I was working for one of my clients who worked with the government in a military capacity. So he was like, Ivy, I want you to work for me. I want you to work for me. I'm like, I'm going into the military. He goes, I don't care. But I think he knew. So he's just worked for me for the time being. So I did. So that's a little separate. But so I was going through the process and there was this huge thing in Vegas, all government personnel. And I went and all the things. And on the way back home to Arizona, just before we were to land, all of a sudden I felt this. And I went, oh, I'm not supposed to go in. I didn't hear anything. It was just this feeling, this knowing. Got off the plane. I called my recruiter. Now, mind you, I'm almost 40. He's in his 20s.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sobbing. He's like, why are you crying? I said, because I don't have a plan B. I sold everything. I sold my furniture. I got out of my apartment lease. Like I was ready to go.
There you go.
Now it's, I can't go. Why? I don't know. So he took care of it. Now I moved back home. I have the pull to go back again, like a pull, like again. And I tell people all the time, pay attention to the pull of what is calling you, because it might not be the thing, but you need to go in that direction because there's a lesson, there's something for you.
Yes.
So again, lessons, right? There was a blessing in that, and there's a lesson as well. So I'm pulled again. Now I think this is almost a year later. I go, I'm crazy. Like I really thought I was crazy. Now I'm really paying attention to the kids, like 18-year-old, pimply faced, whatever, going into, I'm like, but I already signed up. Like I went through the process. And this time I had to interview with a captain. And he told me, he said, I'll let you in. He says, but if you quit, because we don't look too kindly on people who quit, I will blackball you from the military. I'm like, okay. And then I said to him, and I don't know, these words came out of my mouth that shocked me. And I said, the only way that I will not go in is if something completely out of my control stops me. Why those words came out of my mouth, don't know, but they did. So I go about my merry way. Within a few months, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. There you go.
Wow.
That is something completely out of my control. So I didn't go in. So again, it's just one of those things. So I was being pulled to do something. It was a process. It was a journey. I learned a lot of things. And I believe it was to find the breast cancer early.
Okay.
Because had I not, and I know a lot of people are like this, I feel fine. I don't feel like going to the doctors. I'm fine. Because I don't go to the doctors. I should. And as we age, we should even more often. Just checkups. But I truly believe that I had to go through that to get to this place. Two things. One, finding the breast cancer early. Two, my daughter. Because I didn't think I would have kids.
Okay.
I really didn't. Before moving back, dating, I got to a point where I even said to God, I said, okay, I'm going to be single for the rest of my life because I can't find someone.
Yeah.
And so I moved back, and that's when I connected with my husband now, but we knew each other in the Sea Cadets.
Really? Isn't that interesting? That gave me
And
the
we
goosebumps, all the little synchronicities.
we connected on Facebook.
Oh.
Yep.
So when you came back to New York, you were almost 40 then. No?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I was already 40. I think so. Yeah.
So you found out that you had breast cancer. You met your husband, and then
I met him first.
Okay, you met
So
him first.
Connected first because now I'm online going, who can help me? I'm going into the military. Who can help me? Give me some insight, intel, and all the things. And then I went, Andrew went into the Navy. Let me see if he's on. So nothing. I looked up his first name, last name. I don't know. Nothing. A month later, he contacted me out of the blue. He was never on Facebook. He happened to just sign into Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
Because I knew his mom and his mom was getting sick and he thought of me and he wanted to. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So we connected, and then I was living in Staten Island. He in Jersey. He comes up to visit me. It was as if no time passed. We just talked. And then I said, I'm going in the military. So we can hang out for a couple of months, but I'm out in 3 months. So that's it. So of course, for guys, okay, in a couple of months, we'll hang out. And that's it. And then I was diagnosed probably a month before leaving with breast cancer. And he was with me every single step of the way. Every appointment, everything.
Wow. So what kind of treatments did you have to go through for the breast cancer?
I did not do chemo, but I did do radiation. And I did radiation while I was pregnant. My doctor was like, this is the first time I'm doing radiation on someone that's pregnant. And I'm like,
okay.
It's always the first. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were pregnant and going through breast cancer at the same time. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it wasn't one of those, granted, when I initially got the diagnosis, which was horrible. Anytime you get a diagnosis like that, it's horrible, but it's the delivery that makes a difference from a professional, a doctor. And I remember sitting in the room, the doctor walks in, and it was like quiet for a few minutes. It was weird. It was very awkward. I'm thinking to myself, are you going to say anything? Like, okay. And I wish I remembered her name, but I don't. Probably a good thing. Probably a good thing. And she opened up her folder and she says, yeah, this kind of sucks. You have cancer right before Christmas.
What?
I kid you not. And it was more like, what? And I'm not one that's like, what do you mean? And I just, And I don't remember anything after that. Honestly, I don't remember her saying anything, check me out. I don't remember anything. I remember
Wow.
when I left the, I don't know, I don't even know if it was in the hospital or the radial. I don't have no idea. I just remember, and everyone says this, it's that surreal feeling like you're standing still and the world is moving.
Yeah.
That's how it was. And I just looked around and I'm like, wow, okay. And then I went home and I told my mom, and I think I still was just in this. And my sister cried. She's like, oh my God, are you going to die? I'm like, no, it's just something I have to go through. And that's just always been me. We go through stuff.
Yeah.
And this is just what was placed on my path that I needed to go through. I was going to learn from it and grow from it and be better because of it. I just knew it, even though I had to go through it and it sucked. But yeah, and I remember I went to a support group just a few times prior to the surgery. All the women, I was like 41. And all the women like were in their 60s and 70s. And I'm just sitting there and we're talking. And I forget what the question was, but I remember saying, I look forward to who I am to become after this surgery. That's it. I don't look at things like, oh my God, why did this happen to me? But it is the, why did this happen to me? Not the woe is me. Okay, you're giving me this. All right, I will go through this. And that's how I face everything.
Looking to see what is the purpose of this experience? What is the lesson you're supposed to take from it? So what did you learn from the breast cancer experience?
One of the things I learned was taking care of my health.
Yeah.
And that even still took some time because I was still drinking.
Yeah.
I'm 6.5 years sober. I'm 55. So that was 40. I was still drinking along the way, but it was just, it kept on playing. It was like that whisper. It was gnawing at me when I knew. And I remember when my daughter was born, I thought to myself, oh God, thank God she's going to be the reason I stop. And she wasn't.
Oh.
And she wasn't. And I was like, it saddened me. Like it saddened me. I'm like, what is it going to take? What is it? And so I remember saying, and this had nothing to do with alcohol, I don't think. I said, God, just give me 6 years. Just give me 6 years so I could figure out my life. And I went through a transformational coaching program. Now, I thought at the time, this is it. I'm going to go through this program. I'm going to be this life coach and I'm going to be so successful and I'm going to help women. And That wasn't the case. It took me some time to realize that I had to go through that to get to a point because I was transformed in this program.
Yeah.
In this program, I learned just getting down to the energy of who we are. That, and I've always believed it, but it was different going through the process and working through it. I always believed that I was bigger than it, the alcohol. I always knew it. I wouldn't say I'm an alcoholic. I don't like labels. It's if you want to say it, you can say it. I'm not saying it because I'm not an alcoholic. I struggled with it. I just need to work through it and figure things out. But I always knew that I was bigger than it. And going through that program, 2 months later, I let it go. Let it go to a point where for a while, I'm like shocked. Like, I'm still blown away. I don't think about it. I'm not triggered by it. Nothing. Like it's gone for good. And I'm like, wow. And then I realized my daughter is 6.
Wow.
I'm like, she had just turned 6. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then I thought funny, because of course me, Ivy, I'm always joking and making light of things. I'm like, I need to be a little more specific.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Just give me 6 years. What do you want in 6 years?
Yeah.
Be specific. Yeah.
It's so funny. And it really does matter the words that we say, what we ask for, and whether you call it a self-fulfilling prophecy or divine intervention, it doesn't matter. But when you put something out there, you get it. And like really early in the conversation, you said you asked God a question and you said he did not answer me, but I would say he did answer you. It just took a longer time and came in a different way than you were
Yes,
expecting.
almost definitely. Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about the triathlon.
That came about. So when I was like 21, I worked for a company in Manhattan and I was a receptionist. I loved that job. I loved being the front person and greeting everyone as they walked in. I really enjoyed that job. And so one of the young guys, I remember him walking in. His name was Eric. I said, "Good morning, Eric. How are you? How was your weekend?" And he goes, "Great, Ivy." He goes, "I ran a triathlon." And I was, now when I hear triathlon, I thought Ironman, like
Oh,
the
okay.
big kahuna. I didn't know there were levels to it. So he probably, I don't know, but he probably did maybe like a sprint or an Olympic. So that's like sprint, Olympic, half Ironman. So you could do that. It takes 2 hours. So I remember my jaw dropping and he's grabbing his messages and I could see him smiling. He starts to walk away. He stops and he turns to me and he goes, "You should try it one day, Ivy." And then he walks away. And I
You're like,
remember,
challenge accepted.
but then I remember thinking, like, me do something like little old me do something like, no, that's for someone like you. You're like an executive. You're up here. I'm just here, kind of thing. And then didn't think about it for 20 years. Didn't think about it. Every so often, something will pop up. When I was in Arizona, I started the marathon journey, and then I was doing that. My coach was from Albany, I think, or Rochester. He said he would go home, visit his family, and then do a triathlon and come back. And I'm like, what the heck? Now I know, same thing. There's levels. I'm thinking Ironman. I guess it was there. Subconsciously, it was there. When I stopped drinking, I knew instantly. I knew every fiber of my being. I knew I was done. But my immediate thought was, all right, Ivy, that's level 1. Now what? Now who are you? Who are you going to be? How are you going to show up? And all these questions. So it's like, and I remember thinking to myself, okay, what do I do? And at that time, my word that year was consistency. That was my anchor word, consistency. And so I thought to myself, what can I do to be consistent? I love working out. I've done marathons and half marathons, but I wasn't like a consistent runner. I just get a bug, train for about 5 months, do it, done. Get a bug about a year and a half later or so, train, do it, done. I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something consistent. I was listening to James Clear when he was talking about atomic habits, and he talked about the 2-minute rule. And I'm listening, I'm at home, I'm doing whatever. And I thought to myself, in 2 minutes, really be a game changer? He said it could. There were testimonials of people that did things starting at 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, I value exercise. So I'm going to wake up every morning and I'm going to do 2 minutes of stretching. That's it. Now, could I do more? Of course. But it was the building the habit and the consistency. And so I did that every single morning. Some I did more, but I always did 2 minutes. And after a few weeks, I was like, now it started to become a little automatic. Just get up, grab my yoga mat. And that led from 2 minutes to 5 to, let me try yoga. Then it was 5-minute yoga, 10-minute yoga, half hour. Then it's, you know what? Let me start going out. Let me start with a walk and let me start with a run and da-da. So I started doing that. And then the thought of triathlon. Now, for about 2 years, I would go online and look to see what races were out there. Not that I would do it, but here's the funny thing. And I know we're getting close to the hour. I would look and say to myself, that would be cool. It's an hour away. I can't do it. I'm not going to get up 4 in the morning. I look at another race. Oh, that's 2 hours away. Mind you, I didn't know how to swim. I didn't own a bike. So this was just like this fluffy, I'm using distance as an excuse as if I was going to do it or could do it. But that year, June 1st of 2018 was when I stopped. December of 2018, I go online and I see triathlon on Long Beach Island. And I thought, are you kidding me? I look up and I go, well, I can't use distance as an excuse anymore. It's right in my backyard. So I said, okay, all right, I'll register. So I registered in December, but I said nothing to no one. I put it in my calendar for March, start training. March rolls around. I'm like, all right, Ivy, you're going to do this? Let's do it. Again, didn't know how to swim, didn't own a bike. I hadn't been on a bike since I was a kid. So there's lots to learn there. But I started the process. And they say success favors the bold, success favors action. And so I just started the process. What can I do with what I had where I was? I could go out and I could run. That's one leg of the triathlon. Then it was like, okay, let's get a membership at the pool. Oh my God. The whole experience about swimming, even one of the lifeguards, he was an older gentleman. He goes, that looked painful. I'm like, I'm just learning how to swim.
Did you have to swim in the ocean for the triathlon in the bay?
And I'm doing it again this year. I still don't like it. I still don't like it.
You're doing it again. So how many
This will be number 4.
Number 4?
Yeah.
At 55.
Yeah.
You are one of the reasons why I just fell in love with you, loved your story and everything is because you've got a lot of similarities to me, except that I have absolutely no desire to do a triathlon. but I'm very into fitness in other forms. But the idea that you are just a regular person who's been through life like everybody else, and you just put yourself out there for positivity, for fulfillment, for a model of what life can look like. Like you don't have to be a celebrity to make a difference in the world. And you just keep putting yourself out there. And as you're moving through, you're learning, you're growing. This is what most people go through. This is like what most people do their whole lives. And I think we hold ourselves back from growth and from being a positive influence for others because we think, what's little old me gonna, what kind of a dent am I gonna make in the world? And the thing that we don't realize is we are the ones who make the biggest dent in the world. We're the ones who make the biggest difference in the world. And as you go through your life experiences, and I know you're still like on the journey, you're still learning and loving that, what do you derive the most happiness from?
My daughter seeing me.
Oh.
I have always said, prior to her even being a twinkle in my eye, I have always said, I just want to be an example of possibility. I don't know how, what, I just want to be an example of possibility. And I guess that's what I'm doing and just showing up. And I tell people all the time, I said, I don't have it all together. I'm doing this and this looks good. And the triathlon, and soon I'm going to be like posting and all the things. And okay, that's one aspect, but there's a whole life wheel. I mean, there's areas in my life that I'm working on. And so it's just doing something that makes me feel good because I want to live long. The last thing I want to do is when I'm like now moving forward is to be in the doctor's office like every week and getting this and getting that. And I just know that you can heal yourself.
Yeah.
With proper, now I'm not perfect with the food and the nutrition, but I'm mindful and I'm aware and I teach my daughter and I just know like your body, if you give it a chance, can do so much for you. And even with the economy and all the things, and I know, but there's little changes you can do, just little healthier options you can do. And that's it. I just do me and share me and willing to be there for people in any capacity I could be.
Yes, that is a beautiful example of how just being aware, not seeing the whole picture, but being aware that there's one step you can take. And that's been your whole journey. And by doing that, just taking one step at a time, you've accomplished these amazing things that many people just dream of or don't even think that they're capable of. But I'm 58, you're 55, and I totally agree with you. We are in control of our healing. We are in control of our lives. We are amazing beings, and there's so much we can do. All it takes is just believing that. And once you tap into that inner self, the higher power, whatever you want to call it, you really are unstoppable. So the last question I always ask everyone is to share one lesson and one blessing from your life.
Okay, one lesson. Ooh, that's a tough one. The lesson, that's a tough one. It's all my challenges, the lessons and all of my challenges. Of course, Steve Jobs said it, you could like connect the dots looking backwards. But even in the midst of challenge, there's always something to be grateful for. We may not find the lesson in it at the moment, but there's a lesson for good. If you look for the good, it's easy to look for the bad. Look for the good. And so all my challenges, all of it, the stuff that I went through as a child, the alcohol, all my errors in judgment, all of it were blessings. And they led me to all the lessons being learned along the way to get me to where I am now. And now is where I'm just beginning to grow at 55. Just at my green growing edge. And it's so exciting. It's so exciting. Like I tell people all the time, I feel it. I feel, and it's weird, I'm just growing. And I tell my daughter this all the time. I say, honey, adults don't have it all together all the time. They're working through things and trying things, and she sees it. I just, through what I do and how I go through things, I always stop and show her what I'm learning, how I'm struggling, where I'm struggling. And one blessing is her, and she calls me out. She calls me out on things. And all the time I laugh and I go, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, it's being grateful for everything. So the blessing is all the challenges. The lesson is being present and paying attention and realizing that what you're going through is for you because there's something more for you. You just got to keep on keeping on, one step in front of the other, and just try things. And the what if? What if I do this? If I fail, okay, I'm going to learn something. But what if I don't? What if? And that's it.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful, so important, so profound, and yet simple. And I think everybody can find something that they can relate to in you and in your story. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you or be in your world, where's the best place for them to find you?
The best place is Facebook Messenger. I'm always in there. I live in there. So if you want to contact me on Facebook Messenger, and I will get back to you. And
Okay,
I would
we'll have
love
your
to have a
Facebook
conversation.
Yes. We'll put it all in the notes if people want to get in touch with you. And just, even if you have something to say to Ivy, you touched me in a certain way. We love to hear that we've helped and been able to connect with others. So thank you for being here, Ivy. Thanks for having this amazing conversation and spending the morning with me. And we are going to keep being friends. So
most definitely.
I'm so excited. All right. Thank you, Ivy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, everybody still listening, will you go give a 5-star review to this podcast? Mitzi puts in so much effort and so much love into this. She's brilliant. She deserves it. So I am going to go right now. By the way, by the time you hear this and you go give your 5-star review, you should be able to go find my 5-star review of this podcast. But I just want to thank you for what you're doing.